What's up, y'all? Same as always. Welcome back. Thank you very much for being here. I always love doing this. I love every second of this. I love every guest. They're always amazing. The show is amazing. Every one of y'all are amazing. So for anybody that's new, welcome to the Cajun Libertarian Live. I am your host, the Cajun Libertarian. And so with that being said, I really have to give y'all another shout out because we have that big event in Tunica, and I'm going to be emceeing the whole event. I'm going to be a huge part of it, and I needed your help to get there, and you guys just killed it in like 3 episodes. Just absolutely amazing. I'm there. We're booked. That section is over with, and so we're going to, we need a lot of fundraising. I know that's just the way this business goes because we're all volunteers. And so tonight's fundraising will go directly to Eskimo Libertarian. So you guys saw the struggles that she had. And so my team is going to put her donation links into the comments. Please donate to her. We need somewhere between $300 and $400 over the next week to get her up and running properly. So I'm counting on you. And I'm going to be using my own money to help her out. Not a joke. I'm doing that, right? Several of us are. So please donate to Eskimo Libertarian. Let's get her some whiffy, as she said. And I absolutely love that. The Tunica event, July 9th through the 11th at the Horseshoe Casino and Hotel in Tunica. Please show up. A lot of people are coming. Bunches. Spike will be there. Adam Kokesh will be there. I'll be there. Right now it's looking like Matt Wright, myself, Nalik or Eskimo, and Spike will all be there for a Muddied Waters special. But we can't do it without your help. We need the money to get them there. So donate. Please. Donate to her, donate to Matt, donate to Muddied Waters, donate to me if you need to, and I'll appropriate the funds exactly how they're supposed to go. And so now that we got that part out of the way, that I have a great disdain for, but I am falling into a little bit of comfortability for it because I've got a lot of good people on my team and on my side really bearing down on my neck saying we have to do this. It's extremely important. We need you. We need us. So please help us out. With all that being said, Natalie Bruno running for governor of Oklahoma. I've been accused of saying that that's my favorite state. I can neither confirm nor deny that, but they do show me a lot of love. So I really like Natalie a bunch. I know you will too, and I'm super excited to have her here. So with that being said, let's bring her on. Natalie.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
How's it going with you? It's a little warm over there right now.
Oh, it is. I was just telling Cajun here, so just talking about how we can pivot in a short period of time. So we ended up in our house today having a plumbing issue, which caused the, switch on our air conditioner to shut off. So we have workers in our main part of the house trying to fix my air conditioning. So it's like 90-something degrees today in Oklahoma. So I'm over here like, so if I'm getting red and hot and sweating like a sinner in church, it's because it's like literally really hot in my room. So just bear with me there.
Your AC went out.
Yes.
I can't imagine that in my area. I know Oklahoma's hot.
It's hot and it's humid right now because like the last week and a half it's been raining more than we ever get. Like we usually are like borderline, fire danger, and stuff right now because of the winds. But we've had so much rain because it's been so warm yesterday and today. It's like muggy and hot and mosquitoes are out. And I'm like, and thank goodness my husband, he does lawn control and pest control. So he's at least been like spraying for mosquitoes and stuff around the house. But oh my gosh, it has been like miserable. It has been miserable.
That's awesome. Tell Taylor, I'm pretty sure it's Taylor, right?
Yeah,
your hubby?
Taylor.
Yeah. He friend requested me yesterday or today.
Yeah.
Give him a shout out.
Okay, so BrunoLawns.com. I did his website also. But yeah, so right. The mosquitoes have been horrible. So it's been great.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Taylor, I hope you're watching, my man. I help run a pest control company. Like quite literally. It's just,
you do?
Yes.
I didn't know that about you.
Yep.
That's his industry. He's been in pest control and lawn care for years. So
yeah, same.
It is a small world.
It is very much so. Me and my boss, we started this business together, him and a couple of investors. And so I was his first hire, but we knew each other in the past. So, yeah. That's awesome.
That is awesome. That's crazy. But yeah. So it's been nice, at least in that aspect, because we've had to keep all the doors open. So, it doesn't make them go away, but it helps. So.
Yeah, absolutely. The mosquitoes have been torrential over the last few days, like unreal.
Yes.
It's ridiculous. And so if you don't deal with mosquitoes, there's people from literally all over the world that watch the show. If you don't deal with mosquitoes on an average daily basis, it is brutal.
Well, and I have I don't know if it's like sweet blood or something like that, but if I'll be with a group of people and we'll be at an outdoor event and everybody else will be fine, nobody's even getting bit, and I'll come home and I'll have 50 bites on my body. I don't know what it is, but it's like they just draw themselves to me, and then I have to bathe in Benadryl lotion, and
it's now science segment time. Okay. All right.
So tell me. I love science facts. Let's go.
For those that do not know, and when I found this information out, I was floored, and everybody I've ever told is like, wow, that's really cool. And so mosquitoes their frequency of bite on a specific person is based solely on their ability to process cholesterol. So that's why different people get bit, and different people get bit at different times of the day, because we all process our cholesterol differently throughout the day. That's also why women get bit more than men, because women process their cholesterol differently. That's why some people get bit more in the morning, some people get bit more in the evening, because it's all contingent on the fact of how you process cholesterol. That
is interesting. I did not know that at all. That's actually really kind of cool to know that. Now I'm like, so does that mean I process it better and faster, and that's why I get bit so much? Can I throw this into turn this into a compliment thing? Or should I go check my cholesterol levels and I might have cholesterol problems?
No, we're going to run with the first one.
You're okay, we'll go with that. Good.
Yeah.
Pretty healthy.
I don't think the goodness of your cholesterol matters. It just matters how you process it. Okay. So I'm going to say you're processing it well.
There we go. We'll go with that.
I like it. Very good. So what's up in Oklahoma? When did you decide to run for governor?
Okay, so it was probably mid last month, and over the course of the year, we'd been making kind of jokes about me running. And then as it's been, kind of crouching out, because obviously, filing period isn't until April of next year. But us as libertarians, because we have that little bit of disadvantage, we want to try to plan earlier, right? So we've actually been talking about, okay, so who's going to run for what? What's available. Because of the census, they rezoned everything. So I actually had a plan that was a little bit different. That I was actually going to run for one of the state Senate seats. But with the rezone, I got pushed into a completely different district that's not even having an election this year because we offset them. And so I was like, well, dang it. I was like, I had this whole plan. I knew who I was going against. I knew my tactics, and then it completely got derailed. And then I talked to Chris Powell and a couple of the other amazing Oklahoma libertarians that we have, and we were discussing it. And I was like, oh, I could always run for governor. And they're like, no, really, you should. And I was like, haha, yeah, maybe one time. They're like, no, really, you should really consider running. And so, I always like to do things on a little bit faster path anyways. And so I did a little bit of heart searching and prayed about it, talked to my family about it. And I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm one of those people that believe that things happen for a reason, that in my whole life has kind of led me down a certain path. And so I was like, you know what? Let's do it. There's a lot of issues popping up right now, within Oklahoma that I feel like I can kind of speak to and that I'm passionate about. So if why wait? Might as well do it now. And so I'm going at it 150%.
I love it. And I think everybody that knows you believes that for sure. You're very passionate. You're very driven. And so what led you down this path, right? Give us some backstory if you don't mind. Tell us what got you here.
Yeah, no, I love that you asked that actually, because I really don't get to talk too much about the whole backstory. Usually we get the normal questions like, why are you libertarian or stuff like that, which are great questions. Don't get me wrong. But the kind of what led me down this path of moving from just activism to actually running for an office is I've had a lot of things kind of happen in my life, like pinnacle moments that, not to be cliche or cheesy, but there's moments that happen that are kind of negative sometimes in your life. And there's always somebody out there that says, hey, God puts hard things in your life to use for good later, right? And most of the time we're like, yeah, whatever. That's just an excuse that people use to make you feel good about having bad times. But I've kind of, in my adult life now reflected back on that. And I really feel that in my case, that is definitely the situation. So a little bit of we're going to give the 36 years of Natalie in a 5-minute spiel right now. So I'm a military brat. So my father was in the military for, I think, 33 years. He was in the Army. He was an NCO. He was a command sergeant major. Whenever he retired, he had every single ribbon and, every badge you could possibly have. He was amazing. I don't remember him ever calling in sick one day in my entire life. So I definitely got that work ethic and stuff from him. He was an amazing dad. He was a single dad growing up. And so him and my siblings, and then my mother had mental health issues, my biological mom. My stepmom, Denise, who I refer to as my mom, they got together when I was, I think, late middle school. And she took over from there. But so I had a lot of experience with mental health, growing up in a single parent, household. Having to help raise my little brothers because of the fact that, my dad was doing the best he can. And anybody that's been in the military knows that military does not make, fantastic money. You're definitely not, yeah, you're a veteran, right? Yeah, I thought so. And, they don't make great money. But he did an amazing job with what he had, instilled in me a great work ethic. And then when I graduated, I didn't even actually graduate from a normal high school. I went to a charter school and did a fast track program because I was going to join the military. But then 9/11 happened. And then my dad was like, I'd really rather you not kind of do that right now. So I kind of chose a different path. I moved from Texas to Oklahoma, which I was born in Oklahoma, but I moved back here when I was 18. I got married super young. I had my twin daughters when I was 20. They have autism, both of them do. So I have a lot of great experience with raising children on the spectrum and dealing with, the education system, public education system when it comes to having children with autism. I'm probably going to caveat a couple of times just to kind of hit some points that I think are important.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So with the children with autism thing, one thing that if you have a high functioning child that you really struggle with sometimes is a lot of the school districts don't really accommodate high functioning children well, because you have the lower functioning children, which is typically like your Down syndrome, you're severely disabled, that have special ed, but your high functioning children aren't quite ready for regular classes too. So they get stuck in classes with children that have a lot lesser abilities than them. So they kind of don't get the attention that they need. And so it's really kind of a struggle that parents kind of deal with. It's gotten better, but it's not perfect yet. Probably never will be, to be honest, but it's moving in the right direction, just really slow. So I had them, went through a divorce, dealt with being a single mom. Whenever my ex-husband and I were still together, we had some struggles with homelessness. We were living in a hotel for probably 5 or 6 months at one point, like literally in a one-room hotel. So having that as an experience of knowing how it is to literally get pushed down to nothing and have to build that back up, when it comes from a career perspective, obviously I got remarried again. I have, 2 other sons. So I've got 4 kids total that I birthed, and then I also have 2 stepsons. So I have 6 children now. And so they're great. And I just worked my way up. I had breast cancer in 2017, which is a crazy situation all of its own. So I got to deal with the healthcare system. And this is a funny story. Well, I say funny looking back on it, I'll say.
Right.
But the situation that was interesting with that is the fact that at the time I decided to do a career change. So I had worked my way up in marketing and advertising. I have a very good reputation in that industry here in Oklahoma. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back to school and finish my degree. I have an associate's in alcohol and substance abuse counseling because of the philanthropy that I do. But I wanted to actually get a degree in my field. Even though it's not really necessary, just so I can say, hey, all these credits that I've been building up, at least I can get a piece of paper for, right? Yeah. So I decided to go back to working for the casinos to deal blackjack. And then I had gotten into a car accident to where I broke my hand, and you can still kind of see the scar a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
Fracture. And so then I couldn't deal anymore. I lost my job because you can't deal in the pits with a cast on. It's a security hazard. because you could conceal chips and stuff in there. It's just part of policy. And so when I lost my job, it was 2 weeks later when I found the lump in my breast, that ended up being breast cancer. So I had no job, no insurance.
Wow.
Dealing with breast cancer, which actually at the time ended up being a little bit of a blessing, because since I was unemployed, I qualified for a program called Oklahoma Cares, where they basically, if you have breast cancer or cervical cancer and you're low income, they go ahead and pay for your treatments for you. But here's where it gets really, really sucky. So I was going through treatments. In the middle of my treatments, everything was going fine. I was definitely feeling that, maybe I lost my job for a reason, because if I hadn't, the insurance was good, but not great. And so I would have had to have come up with all this out-of-pocket money that now I don't have to. But my daughter's father passed away, my twins. So he died unexpectedly due to some complications. And because of that, I had gone back to work, but not to the full capacity I could. But since they started receiving his death benefits through Social Security, it kicked my income up to a point where it knocked me off of insurance. And they didn't even tell me about it until I got a $130,000 bill from the hospital, from wherever I was having my reconstructive surgery. So all of these kinds of crazy scenarios I dealt with, and I'm not saying these to be like, oh, Natalie, but just to say, like, I've had all these different kinds of situations happen in my life that really gave me a firsthand perspective of all the different broken pieces of our government and of, our programs and what works good and what doesn't work good. So that way, now here I am, I've worked myself back up. I'm a director of digital strategy at a fantastic agency here in Oklahoma City. I'm thriving. I'm doing fantastic. And I really feel like I wouldn't have been as good of a candidate, for the people if I haven't had these different situations in my life that I had to go through personally. So when I'm talking to someone that's going through a struggle, if we're passing legislation that affects different kinds of people, I don't look at just face value. I look past that into, well, how does that affect this? And how's that going to affect that? So we don't run into these situations where legislators all the time, they pass bills and they just look at the face value of it and don't think of how it affects everything around it, like the butterfly effect. So I really feel like all those things in my life really kind of drove me down this path to where, between that and my philanthropy and the organizations I've worked with, I feel like I've kind of checked enough boxes to really give me a well-rounded understanding of things, going forward and being a governor for the people.
Yeah, I would say so. I think you're gonna hit a lot of heartstrings that you're gonna pull or tug a lot of heartstrings there with kids. I have got 3 of them with school choice. That's a huge deal for us. Not just school choice, but free market education. And there's so many times where teachers that have the opportunity to take care of kids that need or have special needs, they don't get to take care of them properly because they're overloaded, they're underpaid, and that's because of government overreach. I will rant. I am sorry.
Oh,
that's
no,
a big deal for me.
Right. You were preaching to the choir, and school choice is actually a situation that we go round and round and round with here in Oklahoma. And this is where, another one of those little caveats. So as I mentioned, I have, 6 children, 4 biological and 2 stepsons. And with COVID, I have 2 daughters that are, my twins, they're the autism. Okay. They're in high school. They're going to be 16 in August. And they are on the Lindsay Nicole Henry grant and go to a private school. And what that basically is it's if you have a child that was on an IEP, it allows the state to help pay for a portion of the private school costs if you feel like it will better benefit their education, which in this case it definitely was, because we do live in a fantastic school district, but the class sizes are so large. They, one of them has audible sensory issues, so like noises and class size and the size of the school. They really, really needed smaller class sizes where individuals that could actually, have the time to teach a little bit differently with them. I mean, they're both in mainstream classes. The one that I said has the audio problems. I mean, she's, American, she's National Honor Society. She just got inducted for next year. She's going to be a junior. Very, very bright girls. They're taking normal classes, but they need extra help and they need that small class size to keep them on that same track. So that's one thing right there. And then I'm homeschooling my two sons, my two biological sons. So I'm homeschooling them because they're at that point where they've had older sisters that are, smart and helping them. And so they hate normal school because they feel like they get bored. They like learning more things. Like my 10-year-old, like he's bound to determine my 10-year-old, I'll tell you what. So he plays sports and he tells everybody that he talks to, he's like, I want to be an engineer when I grow up, but just in case I can't make it as an engineer, I have a backup plan of being a basketball player.
Nice.
I mean, I'm like, I think that usually works the other way around, but cool, we'll go with it.
It does. Yeah, I'll take that priority right there.
Right. And then my two stepsons go to public school. And so like, I literally have a horse in every race. And, we can't have a one size fits all education plan because every family and every child is completely different.
So spot on. That's so great. Absolutely. Because, and I've said this before, and I know that you're going to agree wholeheartedly. Some of the best teachers I've ever had or I've ever known of are the ones that cater to the student specifically, not having the general just all around. Oops, sorry.
Just in case you guys can still hear me. Just kidding. It sounds like you're whispering, at least to me.
Check.
There we go. You're back. Yay.
Okay, sorry about that, y'all. My microphone became unplugged. So anyway, back to the topic at hand real quick. The best teachers I've ever known or ever come across, and my mom, my stepmom she's getting dropped. She's about to retire from teaching right now, are the ones that cater to the students. They're the ones that look at what the student needs and address those needs specifically, not just a straight up testing diagram where one size fits all. It's this student needs these particular special needs, right? And I'm not talking about just special needs students. I believe every student is special needs. Some are, obviously more required. That my son has got a very, very significant language situation. I don't know. I will keep talking about this. I don't want to. You tell us what.
But no, I agree with you though. So I have quite a few friends who are educators here. I have a friend that's a principal at a high school here in Oklahoma City, and I'm one of those people, and probably a lot of libertarians will disagree with me, or maybe they won't. I don't know. I feel like in the beginning of a lot of these situations, the legislators had the honest interest. They had the best interest at heart. Sorry, there we go. There's a wording I was looking for. They did want to do good. It's just that they chose choices that were not great, and we have these situations where there's these questions like, well, we already have X amount of the budget going to education. That's crazy high. And it's like, yes, we do. But you put so many stipulations on it. It should be completely up to the schools and the parents and the teachers on how that money is spent. In their thought process, they're like, every dollar is earmarked. Like you have to use this much in your budget for, textbooks, and this much for building repairs, and this much for this, but the problem is, just look at Oklahoma, for example. Okay. So in Edmond, which is where I live, we have Wise, we have tons of parks. Our city has like all these great, we have all these recreational sports. We have more recreational sport options than you could ever want.
That's
okay.
Awesome.
So the need to put a whole lot of funding into elementary sports and athletics, for example, isn't as big of a need because that need is already being met by the community. So they should be able to have the option to transfer those dollars into other things that the school needs. Where in more rural parts of Oklahoma, because we have, very small rural towns, it could be the exact opposite. Like they might not even have a YMCA. They might not have any sort of recreation for their kids, and they should have the opportunity to be able to pivot money in the opposite direction. So each individual school district, each, individual region and school has its different needs that it has. Or, there's towns here in Oklahoma that have big, like technology employers. I'm trying not to use actual names of businesses.
No, yeah, I get that.
That donate electronics, for example. Okay, so if we have an employer there that already offers to sponsor all the electronics at that school, then we don't need technology fund there. They should be able to have the option to move that to teacher pay, and it's just, we become so, micromanagey when it comes to, the money, and, how I explain it to people too, when you add in the Department of Education and the State Department of Education, like, you're just paying for more salaries. That's all you're doing, and you're getting less money back. You're not getting a better education. Quality of education has been scientifically shown that it's going down, so we need to remove all those layers so you actually get the full dollars. Obviously as libertarians, ideally we would like for there to be, no taxes and all of that taxation and stuff, but we're not gonna be able to get there tomorrow, right? So
Right.
At least we should be able to, the dollars that we are taking from people need to actually go 100% to what we're saying it's going for.
Yeah, no question. That's a big issue for me personally. I know it's a big issue for all of us, but allocating those resources properly is a huge, huge deal. So for you and us specifically, homeschoolers, right?
Yeah.
We still pay the same taxes as everybody else, but we're not getting the help that we need the same as everybody else gets them. And even their help is crap because those funds aren't allocated properly. And so one of the big issues for me is that free market education, where we can free up that money that we already pay to the government for education for our children, and those resources are put into the proper channels to the student, to the teacher, to the family. That's a big issue, huge issue.
It is. And there's this misconception that if we do it that way, then the lower income schools and areas are not going to have as much funding as the others. But one thing I always remind people and bring up is they don't have enough funding now.
Yeah.
How many nonprofit organizations out there that spend their time, spend their money on making sure that the children in those underserved areas are being taken care of? That's not going to change because of the way we change the government funding at all. It's going to increase. Spike said it, Joe said it, a million people have said this a million times. If you give money to an individual and say, hey, we want to invest this money in this school, how do you think we should do it? They're not going to say, hey, let's give it to the government because they're going to spend it really good. No, they're going to say, hey, there's this nonprofit, there's that nonprofit, they spend so much time in this school. They're never going to say, hey, the State Department of Education, I tell you what, you should give that extra money to them. It's never going to happen. Okay. One thing that was brought up recently that I thought was a really cool fact, I don't know the exact number, so don't ask me, is so the United States is actually number one in the world for giving per capita. And I you've never hear people talk about that, but we are givers. And, there are people out there, myself included, that I've put a lot of money into the community, not because it's nice being able to claim it on your taxes so I can get some more of my money back. But I do it because I care about other people's children. You know what I mean? I know that she uses the children are our future, but they are. And if the government isn't going to do it, we're forced to do it out of our own pockets.
Yeah, no question. And well, going back to what you just said about we're the number one voluntary country in the world, no question. I've got articles sitting in my messenger. I'll give the shout out, Ari Gabrick.
Yes, Ari was actually one of them that we were were you in that group too when we were all talking about it that night?
I lose track of so many groups.
Okay.
I don't know.
So Ari was one of the ones we were discussing about it, and she had pulled that up, or he had pulled that up for us. And he had pulled up all that information about us being number one. Thank you, Ari, by the way, if you're watching.
Big time. Thank you, Ari. Yeah, he sent me the link in my messenger, and I was floored. Like I was starting to read through it. I wasn't that floored. Let's be honest. We know that we're givers, but wow, to be that far ahead of the curve than everybody else in giving, that just shows you we don't need all these government regulations. We need to deregulate. We know what to do. We don't need them to tell us. I won't get off on the ranting about that because, man, that just what are you gonna drop the cookbook? I have to ask you.
Oh yeah, okay. So for everybody else, I'm totally doing this. So I'm in the process of actually finding somebody that I can use to print it. So for one of the nonprofits that I do work with, we did a cookbook last year as a fundraiser, because we were trying to be creative with COVID and try to come up with some different stuff since we couldn't do our normal galas and, those kinds of things. And it actually raised a crazy amount of money. And so in Clubhouse, we end up making some Clubhouse rooms sometimes. And we were discussing, obviously, there's the Seafood Libertarian Caucus.
Yes.
Yeah.
That you are a part of.
Yes, that I am a part of, where we were discussing, jokingly between, different kinds of seafood and then Southern food. And, there's a lot of us that are cooks. And I came up with this fundraising idea that I'm going to do, which is we're going to call it the Govern Eater, Libertarian Govern Eater, where we're going to have libertarians across the United States submit funny stories and recipes and put it together in a book and sell it as part of a fundraiser. So I am actively working on that. So keep an eye out for it. It's just a fun way to raise money. And we have some really good cooks in the Libertarian Party. I'll tell you what.
No question. No question.
And yes, my fried deviled eggs will be in that book.
Okay. Well, look. All right. Now, I am ashamed to say that I have never heard of fried deviled eggs until we were in Clubhouse that day and I had to sit back and listen. I'm going to need that recipe before you give it to everybody else. That's
okay.
Privilege.
All right, that's fair. I'll do that.
Please and thank you for coming on the show. That's all I need. Give me that recipe to fried devil. My wife and I that's probably one of my favorite snacks is deviled eggs. Mm-hmm. And she's perfect at them. And now I have to try fried deviled eggs. I mean, oh my gosh. So I won't give away your secrets here. I just wanted to tell you because I didn't get a chance to tell you in Clubhouse.
Yeah, yes, I'll give it to you, but everybody else has got to get it from the cookbook. But I'll put it in.
Everybody's got to get it from the Governator. And you made that name up, right?
I did, but it took a lot of brainstorming from you guys until I finally came up with it, which I'm really shocked that one of you guys didn't come up with it first because it's so obvious, but it worked out.
No, I love it. That is a great name. I absolutely love it. Governator for sure.
Yeah.
And so when is your actual when is the election? When do we need to have you on the ballot? When do we need to have your signatures? When do we need to have your
So we don't have ballot access. So there's no signatures needed. So in Oklahoma, thanks to Todd Hagopian and some others as well, we actually have ballot access secured through 2024, I believe. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty positive it's 2024. And so we're actually good there. I just have the filing is in April. Obviously, there's going to be primaries and those kinds of things. I don't think, knock on wood, that I'm going to have an opponent. So I don't think I'm going to have to primary, which I'm hoping stays that way. So if there's any other libertarians out there in Oklahoma, just don't stay out of it. But anyways, so the election is next November. So I have some time. I have a lot of big plans of some fun activities. I have some people I'm going to fly in for fundraisers. And so it's going to be fantastic. And then my actual, obviously we went on that whole thing about my history, but one of my main platforms is actually going to be criminal justice reform. Do you know a lot about criminal justice reform issues here in Oklahoma?
Not in Oklahoma, but I'm very familiar with it here and just in general around the country.
Right. Well, so in Oklahoma, obviously those who live here, we understand it, but everybody from out of state is always pretty surprised. But we're actually number one state for incarcerating women. And we're the number 2 state for incarceration rates altogether. And obviously that's per capita. We actually sentence our nonviolent criminals 78% longer. I mean, it's a really horrible system. The jails here, they're bed bug infested. Like we have so many issues currently going on in our criminal justice system. And so that is, one of my main platforms is helping to kind of fix that. We have medical marijuana, which is great. Obviously the cannabis industry is working towards recreational, but we have so many issues I pulled up some stats where I looked on actual time served. I think that for possession charges, the average time served was 27 months. And for domestic violence, which is actually a crime versus a whole nother person instead of a victimless crime, the average time served was like 9 months.
That's
so 27 months. Yeah, versus 9 months. And so I'm going to plug an event that we're doing. So on June 12th, The Libertarian Party is partnering up with some other organizations, and we're going to be doing a protest at the jail here in Oklahoma City, calling for the release of, offenders of victimless crimes, for a better system for our jailing system of actually keeping it clean, quality food. There was a woman that I met. So yesterday I went to what was called Green Grow Fest, which was an event for our cannabis industry, because we're coming up on the 3-year anniversary of legalization for medicinal. And I have a woman that I met that her son actually, I'm not going to go into the full details of his case, but he was he's in jail right now. He has been, I think, for 2 years. I could be misspeaking there. But basically he was in an accident that he's getting the full blame for, even though the other person was also drinking and driving. It was in his system, but he was the one that passed away, the other person. But he received a pretty bad cut to his arm that they actually pulled him from the hospital, didn't let him finish getting the care that he needed. And now he could be possibly losing his arm. So, I mean, there's just basic human rights issues that we're dealing with so much stuff here. So, that's definitely one of our big platforms. And so I definitely wanted to make sure to plug that event. If you're in the Oklahoma area and you want to come participate, just look up the Oklahoma Libertarian Party, or even look on my page, Natalie Bruno for Oklahoma. And we both have the event on there, and we'd love as many people as possible to be able to show up.
What is a link or website or all of the above that people can donate to you and donate to the cause that you just talked about? Just anything and everything that we can absolutely get on here to help you and the people of Oklahoma.
Absolutely. So my website is electnataliebruno.com. And so I have a donate button there that's now active. I announced earlier that it was active, and then I realized it really wasn't active. I had to finish setting up one other portion, but now it really is active. And then if you go down to the footer, there's a link to the Oklahoma Libertarian website as well. All of these events are posted on there. They're also posted on Facebook. So if you, like I said, look up Natalie Bruno for Oklahoma, it's on there, and the Oklahoma Libertarian site as well. So, but yeah, electnataliebruno.com. You can give me your monies. It's going to a good cause. We're Oklahoma. We are killing it. Our whole team. I mean, our membership, everything has just been blowing up. The events that we've been doing, the impact that we're doing in the community, because we're doing this whole thing where the other two parties have been a whole lot of talk and not as much action, and we're all action. We're all action, baby. So we're getting stuff done over here.
Yeah, no question. Did I get your website right there? I think I did. Oh. We may be losing you there, Natalie. Technical difficulties all the way around. This is somebody put it in the comments. This is the curse of coming on a Muddy Waters Media. So Spike, Matt, right?
You did, yeah. I saw it across the bottom.
Okay, very good.
Oh, I hope not. I'm hearing you.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Let me pull you off.
I know it's horrible. You're just gonna have to have me back on.
Oh, that's definitely gonna happen. Try it now. We're definitely going to have you back on for sure. Oh, and by the way, we'll be in Clubhouse right afterwards. It's probably I will say it's probably
we'll second that. I will gladly blame
them. Yeah.
Are we good now?
Sure. No, not at all. But yeah, we are good. You are very, I don't know what it looks like on y'all's end as far as technically wise, but on my end, she's very slow and I can't hear anything she's saying. So this is, I am going to fix the tech difficulties over at Muddy Waters because it's leaking into my show, which I've never had before. So let me pull you off. I hope you can hear me, and then I'll go on a little rant. We'll check comments and then pull you back on and see if it works. All right. So no stranger to tech difficulties. Geez, I know all about tech difficulties. Drew says, Bam. Right there. www.electnataliebruno.com. Perfect. Yes, Katie, I could not hear her either. That's okay. I'm watching. Look, if you don't know, she's on the bottom of my screen here. Right there. You can't see her, but I can. So I'm waiting for her delay to catch up. If we can't, no big deal. You can catch us over in Clubhouse in just a few minutes. We're running out of time anyway, but I will definitely have Natalie back on. Let me put up Drew's comment right here. PayPal, elect Natalie Bruno. Drew says it's also glitchy. Yep. This is called the internet. No big deal at all. So please, please, please donate to Natalie. Get her campaign up and running. Well, not that you need to. Her campaign isn't up and running. She is going to be the governor of Oklahoma, and she's also going to help with the down ticket. You know, that stuff is super important. If you watched my episode with Larry Sharp, he used his top ticket and just killed it on the bottom ticket, on the down ballot, where they got so many libertarians elected into office and in that state over there in New York. And so it just, whatever we have to do to get them where they need to be is amazing. And she's back. Let's try again. Are you there? One last shot.
Maybe.
Almost. It's so
Am
close. You're almost there. Yes, yes, yes. She will be awesome.
I have full Wi-Fi.
Who knows? You know, as a Christian, everybody knows I'm a big follower of Jesus, a disciple of Jesus. I've led worship for many ministries and churches. We always love to say that Satan will get into the electro equipment real fast. And so anytime we have a good message out there, stuff starts to break down. It's probably just my FBI or NSA agent. It's my Fed boy trying to shut us down because they know Natalie is a beast and she's going to take over Oklahoma and give it right back to the people. So, yeah, that's just part of it. So, Natalie, if you can hear me and see me, we love you. Everybody in the comments loves you. We are going to jump right into Clubhouse where there will be no technical difficulties at all. I am so sorry. She deserves every second. And so we'll see you soon. All right. So I couldn't tell if I put that one on there or not. Sorry. Yes, yes, yes. She will be awesome. I know her personally, and she will do great as governor. Governor. Yes, indeed. I am so sorry for the technical difficulties, y'all. If you've been watching my show at all, you know that this doesn't happen. Like, this is kind of a first. And so other than the Nick Wildstar interview where my Wi-Fi or my toddler unplugged the Wi-Fi, but that was no fault of anybody else's but that little turd. And so I actually put her on my Kick Rock segment. But as far as tonight goes, there's no telling. Natalie's got people working on the house. There's probably something with that. Doesn't matter. I will have her back on. I'm trying to look at this camera right here. I'm not used to it. And so I'm going to get used to it. But anyway, jump into Clubhouse. We're running right at the 45-minute mark. Back to the camera. I'm going to point at it until I figure this out. Right at the 45-minute mark. Natalie's awesome. I've got to speak to her several times in Clubhouse. We've gained a rapport. She is an absolutely brilliant woman. Her and her husband are doing great things in Oklahoma. Please do everything that you can. If you are in the great state of Oklahoma, which I'm being accused of every day now, being my favorite state. I don't know what you're talking about, Oklahoma. I'm from Louisiana, the greatest state ever, which is way better than Alaska, and way better than Oklahoma. But yes, I do love both of those states very much. They love me back so much. I love every state in our union. I love every guest that we have on. I will see you in Clubhouse in a few minutes. I will drop the promo for Sunday's interview tomorrow. You know that usually I do a solo episode with a few segments. We will not be doing that Sunday. On Sunday, we will have an interview. We will have a guest, very special, another Oklahomian And oh my God, I hope I'm saying that right. I just made that up on the fly. And so if it's not wrong, y'all love me anyway. And I love you back very much. So with that being said, I can't say my usual tagline because that show will be at a different time. And so it will not be the same Cajun time, but it will be absolutely the same Cajun channel with more incredible content, fun, informative, educational, and entertaining. That's so important. Please, if you're running a podcast out there and you're trying to get this amazing information, most of y'all are way more informed than I am. You know, way more about policy and law and all those specific things that are required to fight the state. Please, please, please get your voice out there. Make your voice entertaining. We need to catch the eyes and the ears of everybody because our message trumps everybody's. We just need their ear, and then we need to grab their heart, which means we need to give ours. Love your people. Love your neighbors. Love your strangers. Love the people that give you crap, right? Because they're going to listen to what we have to say. It's called dropping seeds. So I love you very much. I will see you Sunday. Not the same Cajun time, but absolutely the same Cajun channel. I am out.